What is a tariff? We are hearing this word thrown around a lot. Donald Trump is starting a trade war, is what we are being told. We are saying that it is making the economy go into a recession. But what exactly is a tariff? A tariff is a duty. It's a tax in some sense, imposed by, of course, a government on importing or exporting of goods. It is used as a form of negotiation many times, but as a way to try and bring both parties to the table. Now, we have tried unfettered free trade over the last 30 or 40 years. On paper, free trade with every country looks and sounds good. It looks and sounds good when we are able to say, you know what? There's no duties, there's no tariffs, there's no taxes. However, America has been largely too focused on the importation of goods into America not being tariffed. And far too often, we don't even ask the question, what about the products we make in our country that we want to import to other countries? So the game that was constituted, the deal that was structured, was the following. It was that we are going to become a purchaser of other countries' goods, and we will become a service economy. Why do we need to go make stuff with our hands? We're better than that. We're just going to go close down all the factories in Allentown. We're going to go close down the factories in Marshallton, Iowa. We don't need to be making stuff. We're more elevated than that. We will have an information economy. And we all know how that works. Those very decisions that were made by the American corporate ruling class led to the rise and the ascension of Donald Trump. It led to the explosion of the MAGA movement. Now, we are in a three-dimensional trade war right now. President Trump is forcing the issue. President Trump very well could have avoided this. The American people voted for tariffs. They voted for stricter trade measures, and he very well could have avoided this. And understand that the menace of the Chinese Communist Party was made possible because of our overindulgence in internationalist trade policies. Americans like the idea of living in a country that makes things again. Not only do we want to make America great again, we want to make America make things again. You are not a country if you import everything made overseas. You are nothing more than a trading colony. You're not a country. President Trump had the Irish prime minister. Now, I'm going to butcher the pronunciation, but there's actually a very interesting title to the Irish prime minister. Blake can put the name in the chat. It's like Taoiseach or something is the actual term for the prime minister of Ireland. I learned that. I didn't know that. But this is President Trump going back and forth with the Irish leader. Thank you. The Taoiseach, whatever. President Trump says that he will impose additional tariffs on the EU to respond to their retaliatory tariffs. The reporter then responds and says, well, what will be the retaliation? Listen carefully. This is President Trump in the Oval Office going back and forth with the reporter. What cut is this? I'm trying to pinpoint this. Going back and forth with this reporter, saying, I don't blame Ireland for what they have done. I don't blame the Irish government for putting duties on our country. Play cut 131, please.
Put more tariffs on the EU. Will you respond to their retaliation?
Of course I'm going to respond.
You will retaliate
The problem
with more
is
tariffs.
our country didn't respond. Look, the EU was set up in order to take advantage of the United States.
Including Ireland? Is Ireland taking advantage of the US?
Of course they are. I can't, I have great respect for Ireland and what they did. And they should have done just what they did. But the United States shouldn't have let it happen. We had stupid leaders. We had leaders that didn't have a clue. Or let's say they weren't business people, but they didn't have a clue what was happening. And all of a sudden, Ireland has, our farmers.
That's him talking to the Taoiseach. By the way, you can see how poorly I pronounced it. The Taoiseach, the leader of Ireland. Other countries can tariff the importation of American goods, but we don't tariff the importation of their goods. Now, on the surface, we thought we were getting the better end of the deal. We said, oh my goodness, we get all of these cheap products. We get Mercedes-Benzes, we get Toyotas, we get Samsungs. But over time, you can only go to the well so many times. You can only go to the cheap money spigot so often. And the more that you start to get high on the unlimited flow of cheap money, the bill comes due. And the bill has come due, everybody, with the rise of the Chinese Communist Party and our inability to make critical manufacturing. Peter Navarro had an amazing appearance on Jesse Waters, and I want to break this down. When he started talking about the details of the different tariffs that are put on American goods. Let's play cut 134, please.
Now, there was a reason, Jesse, a reason why tariffs didn't cause a whiff of inflation during the first term. We did historic tariffs on China. We had steel and aluminum tariffs. We had solar. We had dishwasher. We had these beautiful tariffs bringing in billions of dollars. We had price stability and growth. And I buried the lead, Jesse. We are going to get the best tax cut in history, paid for in large part by tariff revenues from around the world, taken, Jesse, from the people who've been cheating us around the world with higher tariffs and higher non-tariff barriers. It's a beautiful, bullish scenario. We're bridging from Bidenomics to the bullishness of Trumponomics.
And what you see in the markets could be best described as a little bit of expulsion. I don't want to use too graphic language, but you know it if you get the stomach flu or the norovirus. Sometimes your body needs to expel some of the bad. This is going to be a little bit of a transition phase. I don't like to use the word transitory too much because the other administration butchered it. Look, President Trump could easily not do this. Understand the decision in front of President Trump. President Trump very easily could have said, no tariffs, keep the market untouched, let the quote-unquote good times roll. And the American middle class suffers. You do not have a nation, you do not have a country, you do not have a social contract or social compact if you do not have a robust middle class. A middle class is one that owns property, that pays your taxes, that makes your goods and services. It is so tempting to be nothing but a service economy, but that has been the 1% that has done so well over the last 40 to 50 years. Peter Navarro continues. Play cut 133.
We got the 3D, three-dimensional war on inflation, right? It's drill, baby, drill. Think about just going from $80 barrel oil down to 50. You almost solved the whole thing right there. But then you got deregulation and you got the Doge effect, which is basically taking out waste, fraud, and abuse, reducing our government debt. What does that do? That reduces, Jesse, mortgage rates and interest rates, which helps stimulate the home market and allows consumers not to have that overhang of debt.
Understand this. What President Trump is doing, write this down, text to your friends, commit it to memory. What President Trump is doing is completely reorganizing the philosophical, the political, the geopolitical, and the moral posture of the federal government economically. It's a big deal. It's going to take a little bit of a process, but coming out of it will become the strongest, most robust, long-lasting American economy in history. Did you know that over 85% of grass-fed beef in stores is imported? Thanks to a loophole, foreign meat can be labeled product of the USA just because it's packaged here. That's why I trust Good Ranchers, where 100% of their meat is born, raised, and harvested in America. No shortcuts, no questionable imports, just high-quality beef, chicken, pork, and wild-caught seafood. And right now, with their New Year, New Meat promo, you'll get free ground beef, chicken, or salmon in every order for a year when you subscribe. Plus, use code KIRK for $25 off your first box. Support American farmers, honor our veterans, and get the best meat in the country. Go to goodranchers.com, American meat delivered. And there was an amazing clip that the Jesse Waters team pulled out that I said, I got to play this on the show. If you want to explain the birth, the foundation, the catalyst of the MAGA movement, This clip summarizes better than almost any. This sort of behavior is the genesis of the populist movement. To put this in perspective, this clip happened before I was born. This is from November of 1992. I was born in October of 1993. Before I was even born. This is a reporter that went to Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, and was summarizing what we were just describing. So basically, here's what happened: is a bunch of smart guys like Mitt Romney and the consultant class, the ruling class, they all got their practitioner master's degrees from Harvard. And what they were told is the most important thing is maximizing profit. They were told the most important thing was maximizing the dollar. You see, but that's not the only political question. That's the only economic question. But when the political question, you must balance human happiness, community, family, crime, displacement. But if you only ask the economic maximalization question, especially those that have no interest in the well-being of the body politic of the nation or in the citizenry, you get decisions like this. So you go to a place like Harvard and you get a master's degree from the Harvard Business School. And the Harvard Business School will tell you it makes sense to shut down the mill because they're unionized, it takes too long, they're not as efficient. So shut down the mill in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, because let's just say a thing of steel, let's just use round numbers, costs you $100. And in China, you can get it for $60. And yes, you got to ship it, but there'll be no tariff. That's the key, everybody. That's the kicker. If the American government would have said, actually, we're going to put a 10% tariff on, the consultant class like Mitt Romney and all the Bain Capital cabal, they never would have been able to do this. This example right here happened tens of thousands of times, city by city, neighborhood by neighborhood, block by block. And this eventually led to, first, Ross Perot. Ross Perot was the first one to run under this energy. He was the first one to recognize this. This happened tens of thousands of times of plants closing, and there were millions of people who lost their jobs. So I want you to multiply what you were about to see. An incredibly powerful piece of tape. Credit to the Jesse Waters production team for finding it. Commit this one to memory. This here is what led us to this moment. And what President Trump is doing is simply fixing what happened before I was even born. And now President Trump is getting blamed by that for the media. He's fixing what happened in this tape. The human tragedy is unfathomable. It was way too quick of a deindustrialization. And drugs came in, and opioids came in, and crime came in, unemployment came in, and misery came in, and suicide came in. Play cut 141.
For ages, hot molten steel has been the lifeblood of Johnstown, vigorously pumping dollars and jobs through the city's veins. But now the pulse of the community is in cardiac arrest. Bethlehem officials aren't making any more comments than what's contained in this press release. They're sorry, but it's simply not cost effective to run the mill any longer.
It does hurt, and there's a dramatic spin-off that's going to come from that, and there's going to be a lot of problems that have to be solved.
In part, Bethlehem cites fierce foreign competition and the national economy for their demise. For some Bethlehem employees, it's hard to look past the shocking news.
Don't rely on a corporation that don't want you, in a sense, and they don't care, You're only a number.
You know who that guy is right now, 30 years later? That guy is the guy at the side of the street with the MAGA flag that sits at Bethlehem, Pennsylvania for 3 hours a day. That guy that just showed on the piece of tape there? That's the guy that waits 6 hours to go see President Trump speak at a MAGA rally. Now, I'm of course exaggerating. I don't know who this man is. I'm saying the archetype of who this person is. That guy, whomever, I don't even know if he's still living, but he's a younger person in this. Or he might have died of heart disease and a broken heart, divorced and poor, because we decided to ship the factory overseas. We broke the social compact. We did that. And understand, just remember this. It is the experts who did this. It is the same type of experts that told us 6 feet to slow the spread, the same types of experts that came in all in the name of an abstraction called free trade, free trade, free trade. On certain things, of course, if we can have reciprocal free trade, but it was a neoliberal abstraction. And what did it get us? Got us communities that look like Gaza. And a lot of people suffering. And also the rise of the MAGA movement.